aligned with the purpose God has designed for us. I'm David, coming to you on Wednesdays. My co-host Alicia comes to you on Mondays. And on Fridays, you get the dynamic duo of both of us. Today, I am talking about something a little bit more mundane. I'm not going off on a tangent. We don't have an awareness or a specific thing happening this week. We're talking about how this journey happens, and I'm gonna call this talk today. We're gonna call this the daily journey. So every day, as we go through this place where we stop floating, just doing hard, and floating doesn't mean lazy. Floating could look like a lot of effort in a lot of places, but it's not necessarily focused on our purpose, on our path, on our journey. So, what we're doing here is we're going through this every day, right? It's day in, it's day out. It doesn't stop. And then, how do you manage the monotony of life, right? Because every day has something to hold. Every day has its joys, every day has its trials and tribulations. Nobody gets like this. Oh, yeah. Today I went to and saw puppies, and then there was rainbows and unicorns and butterflies. When you're on the journey of life, living in purpose, life happens around you still. The things that you've started, the businesses you have, all of the things that we talked about that made up who your identity is are still going on. So how does David's daily journey look? All right. Well, I get up, I gather my wits, I have a cup of coffee, I spend about 15 minutes doing my prayers and Bible reading, and then I attack my day. What does that mean? Sometimes attacking the day when you don't feel it is getting up, feeding all the dogs, making sure everybody has what they need, and just lugging my butt to the office. Some days I've got a list of accomplishments that I'm super excited about. I'm like, yeah, I'm going to go to the office. We're going to look at this. I'm putting a bid on that. We're looking here. We're moving over there. We got this. But the journey is doing it, right? Day in, day out. I come here. I'm in my office in Van Nuys, which we're only going to see for a few more weeks because we are closing these offices. So what the journey is serving this purpose that we have identified diligently daily. Get up, do your routine, make your bed. Right? We talked about the make your bed thing. Make your bed. Put on your boots. Go about your day. Don't forget your hat. Sunburn. Walk it out every day. Am I further for me? As we've been following this, I am an emotional person. Am I less on the cliff? Am I staying back? This is measurement, okay? If something comes apart, do I have more bandwidth available so that I can manage whatever might come up? Yes, I do. Okay, I'm good there. Have I taken care of my body? Have I had my supplements? Have I maintained my nutrition? Am I eating appropriately? Okay, I'm doing pretty good there. Where are we now? We're in the office, taking care of the podcast. We'll get this done. Then I'll go back over there. I've got some estimates to do. I'll step back and I go for a walk. Part of my journey is recognizing that taking care of myself is important. on social media, you'll see my walks with Charlie or my walks with purpose, depending on which ones or how or when or whatever. But not only is it something that I'm sharing with you, it's something that I do for myself. And there's a whole bunch more of them that I don't talk about. And they're a whole bunch longer than a minute, right? I go out and one of the things in my journey towards being more healthy, I'm start my day working on my spiritual health. I go into my day just working on my overall health, trying to manage my emotions and keeping those things in their appropriate uh, proportions, right? All of them are part of what make us up. You're going to have them. You just, how do you manage them in a way that stays healthy, right? And then, we go into, my physical health. One of the things that with my particular form of arthritis, with this rheumatoid arthritis, lack of motion is a problem. So I get up every couple hours and I go walk 1,000, 1,200, 2,000 steps. I may just walk around the block. I may go to the park. I don't know, but I walk, I make motion. And that's part of maintaining with my purpose of making all three aspects of my journey 0.5% better today than it was yesterday. Right. So continuing to take care of myself through these things throughout my day, all day, every day, is part of the journey itself is learning to work it. Right. None of these things take place through osmosis. You can't just one day get up and say, okay, well, yay, I identify as this great purpose filled life person, everything. Here we are. Yay, me. Give me a hat. Give me a couple of initials that say whatever. No, no, it's the doing it. It is the process of doing this is the value, right? Because that's where we learn. And the journey is educating ourselves through, in some cases, just repetition. Fake it till you make it. And that's, well, wait, that's not, it's not fake. You got to do, well, you know what? Sometimes that's what you got, but nobody else has to know that. You just go out there, put on my big boy boots. I go out there, say, all right, what do we got? Let's figure this out. We got a short time, long road. Let's manage this, whatever it is. And that's the same way with each of these aspects of how we nurture ourselves. You have to do the process. You have to nurture your spirit. You have to commune with God, nature, life. You have to take care of your emotions. I have to learn to give myself grace. We all have to learn to be the best forms of ourselves. Then we move into our health, are you managing your health? Are you taking care of your health? Because you have an obligation to take care of your health. If you really truly love the people around you, you don't want them to worry about your health. So you have to manage your health in fashion they don't got to worry, right? Especially as you're older, like I am. If I don't manage my health well, it affects my wife very, very poorly. So one of my incentives, aside from overall just wanting to be better, is, when I don't do my journey, it affects the people around me that I care about. And that's not, again, I'm not singular in this. All of us have the same thing. If you don't feel well, the people around you know you don't feel well. They feel it. They either feel bad because they want to help you feel well and they can't because it's kind of you're the one responsible for it. Right. So as we're continuing to walk the journey every day, You you don't get a cheat day. There's no cheat days. The only one you're cheating is yourself. Well, what does that look like? I like pizza. Okay. You've all heard me talk about I live primarily on a carnivore diet. You can't have carnivore. Well, there's meat crust and all that. And there's some pretty good ones, but that's a different thing. So I like pizza once in a while. I have pizza. Now, did I cheat? No, I didn't cheat. I made a conscious decision that at this meal, I am going to have this food and I'm okay with that, right? I'm not cheating. I'm making a decision based on information. Most of the time, I do really well. I'm healthy, doing, for a guy my age, stuff that's going on. I feel pretty darn good. So if I want pizza, I'm going to have pizza. But it's not a conscious decision to every single day have pizza. Now that's just a poor choice, right? So I guess there's limits to, like everything, there has to be parameters that are healthy that we try to maintain. And that's going to look different for all of us, right? So what are your healthy maintained boundaries? Where do you find them? And then that's like a whole nother thing, right? Because now where's boundaries? What do you Okay, David, I'll talk about myself. I'm trying to measure my boundaries between how much heed my business takes as I'm transitioning from what I've been doing for a long time to going up and working in these fire areas. How much attention bandwidth do I have over here while still maintaining enough bandwidth so that I'm getting this which I'm committed to and I love doing, and enough bandwidth to take care of the orchard and make sure that my wife has what her needs are met and all of these things, and my son and my friends and my obligations. And I mean, if you go too far out, man, your shoulders hurt and you don't have enough bandwidth. So you have to measure, right? Some weeks you have a little more here, you have a little more there. But the consistency of the journey as David, right, is going, okay, so I can give this much energy to my work life. But if I give more than that, it takes away from these other things. So now I have to be like over here and I'm like measuring, okay, like, okay, well, what's the formula? Is it, there's 24 hours in a day. If I divide it into three things, I have 8 hours. Well, that formula doesn't work in my world today. It sounds good. So, how do I balance? How does David balance these things out? Well, I've created certain boundaries, things that I do at home before I start my workday. On the days I have to start before that, I have conversations and manage that with Amanda to make sure that the responsibilities are covered, because we share them, and that's amazing. I couldn't do everything that we do on the orchard myself. It wouldn't be feasible. Together, it's a lot, but we manage it together. So because my journey is now more communal, I have more bandwidth. The bigger your community, the more bandwidth you have. That's why we're building this, right? We're building this so that we all have more bandwidth. As we go through this journey, when we can share it and have discussion, it's less overwhelming because this is not easy, folks. Trying to live a life that's filled with purpose, trying to learn to be a better form of yourself, fulfilling the obligations based on those purposes, right? Because I don't have a singular purpose. That's not it, it's just not that simple. I'm not at a place in my life where all I need to do is make sure I get this podcast put together for Wednesdays and then with Alicia on Fridays and then everything. No, I have a business to run. I have a wife. I have family. I have friends. I have all of these things that I have taken on that I want to do well. My relationship with my wife is paramount. My spiritual relationship is above the umbrella that is helping me understand what my purpose is better. And then I'm the next layer, and then my wife, and then all of the creatures and things and people and family and friends that I've taken responsibilities for, and then my business, and then it's like this canopy, and you need to learn to manage these things. And that's part of my journey, is managing them in a way that's more healthy, in a way that I'm not laying awake at night trying to figure out how to manage this, that, or whatever. It requires ongoing effort every day. Some days it goes quite smoothly. Some days it's like 8 miles of bad road with rocks and broken glass. But then you get home, you grab your wife, your husband, your partner, your mate, your dog, your cat, pillow. And you get a big dose of, all right, I made it through another day. And then you wash your face, take your boots off, put your house shoes on, and then you're there, right? You Part of learning to measure this for me is to try and take this work portion. When I get home, Amanda gets done working, we talk a little bit about work, and then we stop, right? It's not the only thing that we share. We make sure that we share about the other things that are going on. Who did you talk to? What's going on with who is in our lives? Where is this? Are we working on that? Do we manage our lives outside of our work lives? Because we both have work lives that could completely consume all of our conversations. Right. But we're making a conscious effort to change that. And just we both care what the other one's doing and we want to be informed, but it's not the focus of our relationship, right? If you prioritize according to your purpose, you will find that time makes itself. That doesn't make any sense. I keep on taking more on, but I seem to keep getting more done. Now, is that possible? I don't know. Maybe that's what purpose does. Maybe purpose exponentially creates energy and you become more effective and you're a little bit clearer and a little more direct. You have a little more focus. You change your perspective. Oh, wait a minute. Perspective. It's like a bomb. Boom. All of these things come back to your perspective. Why didn't I think of that? Oh yeah, it's in my notes over here. Um, okay, so do you have to go to work or do you get to go to work? You have to pay your bills. It's kind of nice when you have enough money to do that. I would say I get to go to work. Hmm. I like a whole other thing. Because if I don't exercise, I don't feel well. So I have to, or do I get to go? Well, I'll tell you what, you get messed up enough, you let your body wear itself down, or you wear your body down enough, like I have at different stages in my life, to where you can't walk around very freely or without assistance. And let me tell you, it's a pretty grateful obligation for me to do my 10,000 steps a day right now. I am grateful that I do that, but I hold as an obligation as part of the standard and my daily goals, right? It all comes back around. You listen to every single one of these podcasts, it is circular. We keep coming around and around and around. When you are serving your purpose, you're working with intention, you're living in a conscious, thoughtful, focused life. And then you step back and you take this fireworks of perspective and you throw your perspective into this and you go, I can see this is going to be this way. I choose to change the way I see it because I can also see that it could be this way. It's a choice, right? You can't change what color the grass is. Let's be serious here. But you can always find a perspective that makes it more palatable. When you come to the things that are obligations or the things that are difficult, the challenges that come up, that's when perspective becomes more effective. Um, it's more essential, right? So as you're going through this daily journey, if you can remember, if I can remember, to just change my perspective a little bit, just change your perspective a little bit. See it from the I get to perspective. Sometimes you get to clean up some messes, but it's not a mistake. It's a lesson unless you let it be a mistake. That's also a choice, right? If something happens, spirals and it goes way over there and you're like, ah, sometimes. And I've kind of been one of those in the moment. And I'm stepping back and I'm going, okay, what do I need to learn from this? How do I learn from this? How do I turn this upside down and make it so that what I thought was going to be a really, really big negative? How do I turn this into a positive? How do I turn this around in my perspective? Right? Because the circumstance or the circumstance. You can change circumstance, but the particular thing that I'm thinking about right now is just going to take time to change. So if I look at it as there's a lesson in here, even if I haven't seen a lesson yet, and I'm still looking for it, I'm trying to understand what the lesson might be in some of the things that go on. But if you look at it as not a tragedy, but a lesson, not a failure, but a lesson, then you're sticking in purpose, right? Now you're landing on your feet. Because as you go through the actions of what we do, right? We go through and we do this daily. And some days you struggle and some days it's easy. And sometimes you get home and you're really proud of yourself. And some days you get home and you just like, you can barely walk in the door, get your boots and your pants off before you fall into bed. And then if you can, over time, if you practice, you can tap into a greater power than yourself. You can ask for guidance from God and you can, use the prayer portion and work on your spirituality. And as you work on your spirituality, your overall emotional health becomes better and stronger, right? Because it's like building blocks. And then it becomes easier to maintain your physical health because you're not seeking the gratification of the sugars or the comfort foods that are usually not the ones that we should prioritize. So there's like this whole series of actions and activities that come together that become the purpose effect, right? And that's what this genuinely is. It's ongoing, live it, walk it out, get with the journey, join the community, right? Nobody said that this will be easy. Goodness knows I thought it would be easier than this some days. But here we are, right? We're doing this and we're not alone. And it's a little bit less difficult when you have a community, right? When there's something going on that's deeper. When you're single, it has this value. When you're part of a couple, it becomes this value. When you have a family, it becomes that value. When you take all of those things and you add them and you multiply them by what is community, and you find what we're doing here, what we're building, and why sharing all of this is valuable, right? Because as I'm on my journey, I'm hoping that this speaks to you and helps you stay on your journey as well. And as I am nourishing myself and nourishing you, we get to the end of this, right? And here we are. And if this is reaching you, if it talks to you, the best way to help us continue to do this and to grow this, to make this bigger, better as time goes by, is to reach down there, give us a like, share us with your friends, subscribe, encourage your friends and family to participate in the community that is the Purpose Effect. I'm David Rosenfeld. This is my greatest privilege to share this with you. May God bless you. And I will leave you with our simple purpose, and that is just seek some light.